Vitas is our guest speaker this morning.
Well, good morning, everyone. The first thing I did was drop my clicker, so it can only go uphill from here. My name is Dominic DeVitas. I'm the junior high director here at Eastwind. I serve our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, so usually on a Sunday morning, I'm away in a different room with them. But I'm so happy to be here with you all today, especially in this series about real change. I'm so excited to be a part of it. And my wife and I, we just moved to a new house, and we lived in this place before where we were tenants, so we didn't have to do any of the work on our own home. And this new place we moved into, now we have to do all the work on our own place, which is a blessing, and it's many things. But this place that we moved into, I cannot describe to you how move-in ready it was. It was move-in ready. In fact, my realtor's in the room. I won't make them, but they know it was move-in ready. Yeah, it was move-in ready. But one of us, between my wife and I, did not feel it was move-in ready, which is totally okay. So we did some renovations. We started painting, and I bring this up because it's actually a big piece of pride, to be honest, for me, because I know how to do none of these things at all, the things I'm about to name. And she does, and her dad does, and she is great at them. But somehow the way things worked out, I did all of them, which is totally cool. But I knew how to do none of them. And I am not like a home person who could do stuff. My dad is not. I can say whatever I want. He's not here. He is not a person who knows how to fix stuff. But when I started, so I started with zero knowledge, and then I built it up from there, and I started there. And I really impressed myself because I could do everything. No joke. We started painting. I cut in the entire, I'm not trying to brag, don't worry. I cut in the entire ceiling and wall, the paint by hand. Then, what's next? I have a list here. I installed new water shutoff valves below the sink. The old ones you had to screw in a while, and the new ones, they're just a quarter turn, so way easier to shut the water off. I re-siliconed around my shower and tub and shower head to stop mold. I demoed our old kitchen countertops for the new ones that me and my wife wanted, so they could fit in the new kitchen because I got rid of the old ones. I installed a new washer and dryer. We actually did need to do this one. I installed a washer and dryer, and the most difficult of all, and I promise there's a moral to this story, but the most difficult of all, I installed the drawer faces that go where the sink is, where there's not actually drawers, and you just have to attach the drawer faces to just thin air. I made my own way to do it. It was really creative, and I installed those. But I bring this all up because things did take a turn, an unfortunate turn. And this happened when we were watching my parents' dog. You may have heard there was a house fire that I did start, and I'm very sorry to say that. But part of that was we watched their dog, it's just a payback, you know. And our cat was terrified of their dog. So one morning we wake up and our cat has been trying to escape through the window from our dog and has destroyed some of our blind slats. So I took to YouTube, because like I said, I've been on a roll up to this point, and I took to YouTube and I Googled how to fix blind slats, and the video was like a minute 30 seconds. All the comments said, so easy, thanks for the video, like this is so great, so perfect, so easy, amazing. And then there was this one comment that said, why does this video mention nothing about the fact that there's a little rope, and if you lose it, you'll never be able to fix your blinds ever again? And I thought, weird, this person commented on the wrong video. So we watched the video, we fixed our blinds, all new slats, and when we get to the end of things, and I go to reach for that rope, it's not there. And it's nowhere to be found, because if you let go of the rope, it retracts into your blinds, never to be seen again. So our blinds no longer open and close. But this isn't a one-off thing. This is what I mean. Like, things took a turn, okay? If you go from the blinds now and you walk into our kitchen where there used to be 2 fake drawer faces, there's now one, because one of them fell off, and the other one is now sagging 2 inches lower than it used to be. Then if you go over to our washer and you open it up, you may think these people are in the middle of running a load, because this thing is full of soap, it's full of water, it's full of clothes. But no, it just doesn't drain. It's always in the middle of running a load, and it will never finish the load. It doesn't drain. We had to have a professional come out and fix it. So why do I bring this up? Because some things should not be done alone. I learned this with my home renovation. Some things should not be done alone. If I didn't know how to do the things I was doing, and instead of consulting somebody or partnering with somebody, I tried to do them alone, and it didn't work out. There are tons of things like this: lifting furniture, putting sunscreen on your back. Some things just shouldn't be done alone. That wasn't even a joke. It's just a fact. And then some things cannot be done alone, right? This isn't because we're weak or because our arms are too short or something. There are just some things that can't be done alone. No matter how hard we try, no matter how well we practice, no matter how strong we are, there are just some things that cannot be done alone. Like holding hands or tangoing or hugging. Just some things in their very nature require at least one more person. And we're about to jump in and finish our series here talking about how community plays a role in our lives. But before we do, I'm going to give you an opportunity to turn to your neighbor and talk. If it's your very first Sunday with us, we usually do this once a Sunday, but spend a minute, turn to your neighbor, and tell them what's one time your husband underestimated a task and tried to do it alone. No, tell them what's one time you underestimated a task, and then we'll come back together. Okay, you guys can take 10 seconds. Now, it sounds like there are many times your husbands have underestimated a task, but today we're finishing our series about real change. For 3 weeks, we've been talking about real change. And in the first week, we spoke about how there's this us that every single one of us brings into, like the you who is here today, the me who is here today. There is this person that we just are. That's us, right? And then there is this aspirational us, this person that we want to be, or this person that we should be, or really maybe a person that we need to be for the sake of our friends and families and kids' schools and communities and jobs and all that stuff. And there's a gap between the two of those people. And what we've been speaking about is the way to close the gap in a sense is through real change. Not temporary change, but real change that actually affects who we are and who we will be tomorrow and forever. And in the first week, we acknowledged that that is difficult because we live in a culture that is obsessed with self-improvement and changing and starting things, but we're not so great at finishing things. And most of the change we know how to do is temporary or superficial or doesn't address the real problem. So when it comes to real change, and this is what we spoke about in week 1, when it comes to real change, we don't just need to try harder or do better. We need to invite God to do the work in us because the change we need is not an exterior change, it's an inner change that will then come out. And then in the second week, we asked the question, okay, if God is doing the work in us, then what, if any, is our role to play? And we spoke about and we read the letters of Paul and we saw that yes, the work is done by God, and yes, it happens in our partnership. It happens in our effort. And though we don't have the power to bring it about ourselves, we partner with our habits and the way we live. And in that partnership, real change takes place. So we can move towards that aspirational us. Or maybe not even the person we aspire to be, but really the person others need us to be. So we've spoken about the work that God does in us. We've spoken about our role in that. And now we're going to finish by talking about the role that community plays in that. Because like where we started, some things are difficult to do alone, and some things are impossible to do alone, like real change. This week we're addressing that real change is possible, but it cannot be done alone. It is absolutely possible, but it cannot be done alone. And community is this theme in the Bible that we see straight from the very beginning. God makes Adam, and Adam is this man, and he's by himself, and God looks at Adam, and he says, it is not good for man to be alone. So he makes Eve, and from then point on, the entire story we see in the Old Testament is not about one person or somebody's individual experience, but it is always from that point on about a community and about people together in relationships, doing things together. God sends prophets, not to speak to one person, but to speak to the whole nation or on behalf of the whole nation. He sends judges to rule the whole nation. He sends kings to lead the whole nation towards goodness and towards God. From the point of Adam on, following God is something that is done in community. Scripture just never treats transformation as a solo project from that point on. And one of the places where community is taught about in a clear way is Hebrews chapter 10. In Hebrews, it's a book that's in our New Testament, which means it was written after the life and the death and the resurrection of Jesus. And most of the time, what the books in the New Testament are doing is they're wrestling with the fact that this thing happens and it changes everything. So what do we do now? And we don't know who wrote the book of Hebrews, but we do know that it was written to a group of Jews who were now Christians who were tired. This path that they had set out on was harder than they thought. And it wasn't harder than they thought because it took more effort or something like that. It was harder than they thought because of religious persecution. They were being taken out of their homes. They were being moved to different places and separated from each other. They were facing people they loved were being put to death. They were facing serious religious persecution. And I don't know at all what religious persecution is actually like in that way, at all. I don't know what the Hebrews community was facing. But I do know that there's time after time after time where I've set out on a journey or set out towards a goal or tried to do something, and I have hit setbacks. Maybe I took 2 days off, and I thought, well, let's take every day off forever now. Or maybe it just the progress came a little bit slower than I was looking for. Or maybe the changes weren't actually what I wanted in the end. This is what they're experiencing. They're experiencing that they found something that they thought changed everything, and on the journey to get there, things were just harder, and there was more friction than they wanted there to be, or that they thought there should be. So the author is encouraging them to not give up and to keep going and to hold on to their faith, and he specifically is writing to encourage them and to instruct them to keep on going by staying in community. The author's encouragement comes in the form of saying, continue living this life and do it in community. And we're actually going to read that. So this is Hebrews chapter 10, starting at verse 19. We're going to end at verse 25. But he says, therefore, brothers and sisters, since we have confidence to enter the most holy place by the blood of Jesus, let us draw near to God with a sincere heart and with full assurance that faith brings, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from a guilty conscience and having our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as is in the habit, or as in some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another. And all the more as you see the day approaching. And we're starting here in Hebrews 10 because it just makes it so obvious. And it makes it obvious not by saying in a command, hey, get yourself to a community to do this whole life thing. It just presupposes that a community is where life happens. The command isn't go meet. It's obviously we're already meeting and some of you are stopping, so don't do that. We need to stay in community. There is no I. It's just an us. It's one another. It's brother and sister. It's we. The assumption that the author is making is that this life happens in community. And you could say, this is a dumb joke, but I started it. I'm so sorry. There's no I in Hebrews, but there is a we if you spell it backwards. So there you go. But in other words, community is not optional. It is essential. Community is not an optional thing you can add on to the spiritual life or to regular life. It is essential to life. And while I was preparing for this message, there's this quote I came across by Eugene Peterson, which I absolutely love, and it's this. There can be no maturity in the spiritual life, no obedience in following Jesus, no wholeness in the Christian life apart from an immersion in and embrace of community. I am not myself by myself. And I love it because I love that last line. I am not myself by myself. And I know this to be true because it's something I'm convinced of through experience. The things I am in my identity, I get from my relationships with other people. Like, I'm not a husband without my wife. I don't serve the junior high students here at Eastwind without the junior high students here at Eastwind. Here at Eastwind, our identity comes in and is directly related to the relationships we have within our community and with other people. I am not myself by myself. And you are not your own, or you are not you on your own. And we will not become who we need to be on our own either. Community is not optional. It is essential. It is absolutely essential. But the author of Hebrews isn't just assuming that we have to live in community. There are some very specific things that they're saying community does that being alone doesn't. Starting at the beginning, the author says, in community, they say, let us draw near to God. Let us draw near to God. And on the face, it's really obvious. We need direction. We need help. We need people who have gone before us to lead us. But also, there's more to it. And I think there's a great example in John where Jesus says this. He says, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. Jesus makes this crazy claim that if you have seen him, you have seen God the Father. So probably if we want to draw near to God, we should probably read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and that'd be it. Like, we've seen him. We have seen him in Jesus. But for some reason, after the books Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, come letter after letter after letter after letter from churches to other churches, from people to other people, from people to churches. It's just letter after letter after letter, because sometimes, even if the thing we need to see is right in front of us, we need other people to point it out. Even if the most perfect expression of who God the Father is sitting right there on the page, we need somebody else to point it out for us. We need somebody who understands or sees in a way we don't see, or who's encouraged in a way we're not encouraged, to bring us along with them. And the other side of this is, I just need encouragement to draw near to God. There are days where I don't feel like it. There are weeks where I don't feel like it. And specifically, there's this group of guys who I'm with that has been instrumental. And it's the name of the group we named ourselves. We meet once a year, and we meet every other weekend over FaceTime. And it's an acronym, and the acronym is MEN. Men meet in May to eat meat and mingle. And after the first service, someone grabbed me in the lobby, and they said, your slide was missing the E in the end. It's not missing the E in the end. That is the whole acronym right there. But that's what we call ourselves, and we meet in May, and we get together, and then every other week, we're doing a book club. Every other week, we meet over the weekend. And I bring this up because the encouragement that comes from a group like that is just insane. No matter how I'm feeling, no matter how I've been feeling for the last 2 weeks, all of a sudden I show up on Saturday morning, and regardless of how I feel, I'm faced with a bunch of other guys who are excited about growing closer to God, who are on the journey to grow closer to God, who are actually pursuing real change in their life. And whether I want it or not, I'm faced with that reality and that encouragement and that reminder that I too should do the things they are doing. That only happens in community. And the last thing about drawing near to God in this section of Hebrews is this. The Apostle John writes, whoever claims to love God, yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister, whom they have seen, cannot love God. Once again, there's just this assumption that to love God, to draw near to God, it happens in loving other people. It doesn't happen in this intense personal pursuit of this thing. It happens in the way we love other people, in community, through loving our community. The other thing we see in the verse in Hebrews 10 is, let us hold unswervingly to the hope that we profess. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope that we profess. Community helps us hold on to hope. I experience this all the time, but there are just some days that aren't as good as other days, and there are just some things that happen in life that are not as good as other things that happen in life. And only in community have I seen a place where I can be encouraged to hold on to hope. And the beauty of it is that no matter how I feel about myself and my next steps, there are a handful or a dozen or 100 people around me who are saying, I know you're not feeling like it, but take the next step. Or I know you're not feeling like it, but hold on to hope. Or I know that this is a tough time, but I'm here with you. That only happens in community. And I just have never, I don't even want to know what happens if I have to try to do that by myself. I don't know if it works, maybe it does, but I've never seen it, and I don't even need to go look for it because I know that it happens in community. And the last is, let us consider how we may spur one another on. We need people in our lives to help us draw near to God. We need people in our lives to help us hold on to hope. And sometimes we need people in our lives to help spur us on. And when I see the word spur, I think of this kick that pushes somebody forward. And on Wednesday, which is when the junior high students meet, I practiced this message. And I said spurring is where, I think of a kick, and it moves someone forward. And someone in the front row raised their hand and said, that's not what it is. So I have no idea anymore, but that's how I'm using it right now. Like, think of this kick that moves something forward. It's this other part of community where we need people to do and say what we're not ready to do and say. And whether we're being lazy or dishonest, or we're putting ourselves on our own path towards destruction, or we're not chasing the good things of life as much as we should, I need somebody sometimes who's just going to kick me and say, what are you doing? The right way is this way. Or what are you doing? Take the next step in the right direction. So unless I'm the person I know I need to be already, then I need these things from community to help me move in that direction. So if you want to experience real and lasting change, we've talked about, yes, it's the work of God. Absolutely. Yes, it requires your effort. It requires your partnership. Absolutely. And yes, it happens in community. It is not a solitary thing. So where do these relationships come from? I don't know. I know I have found them by putting myself out there. I know I found them by walking into rooms full of people I don't know and then leaving once I know somebody, by showing up again and again and again. That's kind of where they come from. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know exactly how it doesn't work. These are the things when we, as Christians, when we're looking for community, there are just some things we cannot do. And the first is disappear. We cannot disappear. We cannot isolate. We can't do it alone. We can't go solo. And if you're sitting there and you're wondering, why did he just say 3 synonyms for each other? It's because I'm only making one point here. We can't do it alone. Community is not at all optional. It is totally essential. And then when we disappear and when we go solo and when we try to do it on our own, we're not going to find what we're looking for. We're not going to find the encouragement. We're not going to find somebody helping us hold to that hope. We're not going to find people to spur us on. We'll find nothing. We'll be completely by ourselves. Community is not optional. And when we reduce faith to a private practice, we sabotage the very change we are praying for. It can't be a private practice. Now, there are 12 minutes up on my timer in the back, and I'm totally done. So, you're welcome. But the question the series asked is real and lasting change possible? The answer is yes. It happens with partnership with God. It happens with our effort, and it happens in community. Now, in a second, our band is going to join us, and then one of the pastors here at Eastwind is going to join us. But I'm going to throw up a reflection question and just spend a minute thinking and reflecting and praying, and then we'll gather for the last time before the day is over.